Hello, everyone, and welcome to this IDERA webinar on database performance with me, Anil Mahadev. Yeah, this webinar is going to be an overview of our DB Artisans space analyst part of the presentation, where you have the ability to look at how your database space is incorrectly is, and also look at the various areas of the database that you want to manage the space. So today, in this example, I'm just using Microsoft SQL Server, and the same applies for any of the other database platforms that we support. One of the challenges that we've seen is that as a database administrator, that space has become critical, and it's become a day in and day out kind of exercise that we spend most of our time on. Now, wouldn't it be awesome that we could have a solution that could actually give us like a dashboard kind of view? So that's where the space analyst would come into play here. One of the challenges that people always complain is that my disk is running out of space or my database is not performing that well. So thereby, you need to look at where exactly the internals of it are going to be. So what I'll do now is I'll actually go ahead and showcase this. Here we have how you navigate to the space analyst is actually under the list of your databases. And then here you have space analyst. So once you click on that, then you're brought into the space analyst area here. And the first part of this is where you can actually look at these dashboards that are given to you. You can look at the total space used. Now this is at the total database level. And here you can see which all databases you have. And also if you can look at the file and file groups, you have that option. Then you have the database map that will actually give you like color-coded based areas where you can actually see all of this. Now you can actually go ahead and right-click and choose Open, and it'll actually open up that particular object that you're looking for. So that again is here under the master database. But if you're looking at something of a different kind, then you can look at the other databases here as well. So for example, here if I wanted to go ahead and look at any of the other database systems, I can do that. And here you can see that we have this one here. And here if I go and choose, let's say the wide world importers database, so it'll just say that population will take a little bit, but here you go. It came out pretty fast. And here you can actually go ahead into the storage overview. And here I can actually go ahead and choose which I need. And one of the cool things about this is that you can actually drag and drop and pin this to any part of the toolbar that you would like. One of the first things is to actually initialize a space management wizard. This is where you can actually go ahead and take a look at a new space management task. And with this task, you can actually go ahead and choose next. Here you can choose the different types of space management jobs that you would like. One of the first ones is a standard reorg. Then you can create a analyst job. And lastly, you can create a space management maintenance job for this as well. So here I can actually go ahead and choose this. And I can go ahead and choose one of the databases and pick a schema. And here you can see I have all the list of tables here from this schema. I can provide any kind of customizations, or I can leave them as the default. I'll just leave the defaults. So right now here you can see it's gonna see how you can go ahead and look at how these space management tasks that you can get. Now if you choose next, you can then open up the reorg script in the editor. And this will actually give you all a view of this as well. Heading back to the space analyst, here you can look at the percentage used on the top right, and then here on the top, on the bottom left, you can see the total space used. And at any point, you can toggle the display based on a grid, or you can go ahead and toggle display as a graph as well here. Now from here, what you can actually do is you can actually toggle the display, and you can look at an analysis report that you can see on which are the space levels and everything. So DB Artisan makes it really, really easy for you to go ahead and accomplish all of these here. So now if I go ahead and create this, I can open up it in a Microsoft Edge, and there you go. So I can actually generate reports from this right away, which is pretty nice. Can I just get a quick show of hands that everybody's following these, or it's making sense? I just want to get a quick okay, perfect, thank you. Next, what I would love to show you is the ability for, in the space management wizard, we also have the extract DDL option. Then you also have some thresholds. Now for any kind of space management areas, you have the threshold capabilities that will actually give you, like, out of, let's say for example, if you take a budget, for example, if you set the threshold to 80%, that you exceed 80%, then send me an alert or something like that. That's the same way you can have this here, and we provide you with all the different level of thresholds, and with regards to a sampled, a limited, or a detailed. So we have all of those options there. Then the next thing is you can just refresh the view to see if there's any changes in the display. And from here itself, you can the last step is actually to look at the databases. So here we can look at all the list of databases that we have on the server. And if I wanted to go with any kind of details, I can actually go into the objects. And here I can choose from tables. These are the different level of tables. And here I can choose space diagnostics. So right now this looks like a pretty good, it's in good shape. Now, if I look at the general space, it gives me all of this metadata here as well. Now, you can also go ahead and choose, if you wanted to, any of the indexes or any of that, you can just choose all, or it'll just refresh. And then again, you can choose different databases here. So here I'm picking a different database. And now I'll say yes, it'll go ahead and do a partition and look at all of that information. And again, if I go to tables, this is application.cities, and it will give me all the spaces for both in there as well. If there's an index reorg or anything that needs to be done, you can go ahead and look at that as well. So that, in short, was how you can work with it. If you go under the space analyst window, here you can look at all of the same options that you saw in the toolbar. Then you also have the various other analyst packs, which are the performance analyst, capacity analyst, and space analyst. So here, if I look at capacity, I would like to also look at some performance. I can actually look at how my database server is performing. And this is an ad hoc view, so which means that this is not a 24/7 monitoring solution by any means or shape or form. You can then go ahead and take a look at this here as well. What I would like to do at this point is to also show you how you can go navigate to the various areas. So let's say if I wanted to look at the buffer cache hit ratio, I can take a look at all of this here. And if I'm looking at any kind of graph types, I can choose this to an area graph. I can also navigate to the space area, and this will again get me more details within the performance analyst. I can go into the space, and if I wanted to look at the details of a particular database, I can right click on it and just choose details. And here you can see I have all of the various SQL, everything, all the metadata info here as well. And again, if I want to go back and here, I can just go back to the details. I can right click on this, and then I can also go into space, and then I can just look at server space at this point. So this is where you can look at my drives on each one, on how much it is, and go from there. And lastly, here in the capacity analyst, you can actually go ahead and create a capacity collection wizard where the collections can happen. So let's say as a DBA space management is critical, but in order for that to happen, you need to have some sort of capacity planning in place, right? So for that, the capacity collection wizard is a great resource on how you can do that. So let's say I'll give a sample collection here. Here you can see I can look at all the storage structures, space, file groups, sizes, and database objects. Next, I can actually go in here and choose the database I'm interested in. So here I can just choose whether the database is full, get the total DB space, log backups. And here I can look at all of this metadata here as well. Next, what we can do is we can collect it based on DB objects. Here you can choose if there's anything there. So now I can go ahead and choose the tables and everything. And now I can refresh the statistics from a certain percentage or do a sample scan or a full scan. And then I also have the ability to look at the statistics type. Can do a statistics recompute. I can also auto purge this after a certain number of time, because as you know, these things can take up disk space as well. So just be aware of that as you're building this. So once we're done with it, we can just go and hit finish. And you can schedule this with your Windows task scheduler. And you can right click and just say execute in order to run. And if you want to look at any kind of analysis right now, you can see on this. I can open that of the metrics if there's anything. But right now here, if I look at this, I can open up this metrics if it's there. But you can now save this. Now hit OK. That's it. So now you can actually see if there's any kind of trend analysis. We've just created this right now, so there's no data that's running. But if it's in a production database, it'll usually take about 10-15 minutes as it's processing all this metadata. So that was what I wanted to cover here in this webinar. So I really appreciate all of you joining us today. And if you have any questions, please send us an email to sales@idera.com. And we look forward to working with you. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. And I hope you have a great rest of your week. And we look forward to seeing you soon and wishing you a much success with IDERA's database tools. Have a great day. Bye-bye.